She has been charging clients anywhere between $350 and $1,500 per session. She has sat across from celebrities on camera, positioned herself as the person who will tell you what your therapist won't, and built a following that believes in her deeply. That is the business Cheyenne Bryant has been running for years under the name Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. And the word doctor in that name is doing enormous work, because the moment someone pulled on it, the whole thing started shaking. It did not begin as a coordinated takedown. She went on a podcast and stated openly that she does not hold a therapy license, and her explanation for why was that she had transitioned away from practicing under a license after obtaining her doctorate, shifting from therapist to psychology expert in private practice. That framing already contains a problem most people caught immediately. If the doctorate is what justified the transition, then the doctorate is exactly what needs to be real and verifiable. She essentially made her own credential the centerpiece of her defense without realizing she was being asked about that same credential. What made it significantly worse is what came right after. In a separate Instagram video, she addressed the criticism directly and stated that she no longer practices under a license because she makes more money without one and is not bound by strict boards. Read that again slowly. Not. The license wasn't necessary for the work she does. Not. The licensing process failed her somehow. Her stated reasons were higher income and freedom from oversight boards. Licensed mental health professionals who spent years under exactly those boards, who get sanctioned, investigated, and can lose their ability to practice if they harm someone, heard that and had an immediate, unified reaction. Therapists and psychologists responded by arguing that credentials and licensure are not bureaucratic formalities. They exist to protect the public, ensure practitioners meet a standard of care, and provide a legal framework for accountability when harm occurs. One licensed clinical psychologist who spoke publicly about the situation made a point that cut through all the noise. Celebrity and expertise overlap sometimes, but not always, and the field cannot afford to give platform-level following the same weight as verified professional training. Once that response started spreading, people went looking for her doctoral work. They searched academic databases, they looked for a dissertation, they searched for anything that would independently confirm the degree she has been practicing under. The National Doctoral Database returned 0 results for her name, while that same database contains nearly 600 dissertations from Argosy University, the institution she says she attended. Closure of the school does not explain the absence. Other graduates of Argosy exist in that database. She does not dot when she sat down for her major interview to address it all. Her explanation introduced a timeline that is genuinely complicated. She said the school was accredited when she attended and when she finished the program. She went to retrieve her official transcripts years later while preparing for a law school application and found the university had already closed. A third-party records custodian had the documents but only holds records for 2 years, and she had missed that window. Here is where her supporters have a legitimate point worth engaging honestly. She said she contacted financial aid, which offered her a full refund in exchange for receiving no credit for any programs or courses she completed at the university. She turned it down. Her reasoning was that she did not want to risk having her entire program wiped out by accepting the money. Someone who fabricated a doctorate entirely has every incentive to take a full refund and walk away clean. Turning it down only makes sense if you genuinely believe you completed something worth protecting. That detail deserves honest acknowledgement. But it does not answer the question that keeps resurfacing. Other former Argosy students have stated publicly that they successfully retrieved their official transcripts through state agencies and third-party platforms after the school closed. Bryant also said she was able to download portions of her academic records from the student portal, including material up to her dissertation, though she claims many files were no longer accessible. So there are downloaded files somewhere. But across every interview she has given, she has not named her dissertation topic, has not given a year she defended, has not named a single committee member. Every doctoral graduate carries that information in their memory, regardless of what happened to the paperwork. The absence of it from every single public conversation is the detail that the people asking questions cannot get past. When a journalist pushed her directly, "If you will not or cannot show the degree, why keep the title?" She said, "I've earned the title. I have multiple degrees and I'm not going to prove anything to anybody." She added that her obedience is to God and not to critics. That answer performed very well with her audience. With people outside that audience, it landed as confirmation that no documentation is coming. Her argument for her legitimacy rests on her public sessions, with Nick Cannon, Cam Newton, Shannon Sharpe, and B. Simone, all conducted live, all visible to anyone who wanted to watch. Her position is that the public watched those sessions and judged the work effective, and that judgment preceded anyone asking her to validate herself. The problem with that logic is structural. Those celebrities agreed to sit with her because of the title doctor. The credential opened the door, pointing at what happened inside the room as proof the key was real. Does not actually address whether the key was real. Then a voice entered the conversation that added a layer this whole situation did not yet have. Brooke Bailey, who had previously crossed paths with Bryant publicly, came forward and said that at a Basketball Wives event, Bryant had claimed to have helped a young man through severe mental health episodes and referred to him as her client, as a therapist, not a coaching client, a therapy client. Bailey's statement was direct: no dissertation, no thesis, no license, and the school lost its accreditation. She said people are too vulnerable to be misled and that accountability is not hate, it is necessary. That statement mattered because it was not from a stranger on the internet. It was from someone who had watched Bryant operate up close and had specific claims about how she described her own work when she thought the right people were listening. A licensed clinical psychologist who weighed in publicly explained the professional distinction clearly. In certain states, referring to yourself as a therapist without a license is illegal. The difference between a therapist and a coach is not just language. Therapists diagnose, treat, bill insurance, and are regulated by state boards. The confusion between the two is where people in genuine psychological distress get hurt, because panic attacks and trauma are not what you bring to a coach. And then, while all of this was still moving, she posted a video on Instagram, audio muted, coffee in hand, with a caption telling her supporters that just being happy makes miserable people mad.
Love you.
That confidence and peace forces insecure people to confront what they are not. That powerful people unintentionally expose how small, broken people feel inside. And that instead of growing, some choose to resent what they see. Her supporters read it as exactly the energy they follow her for. Unbothered, grounded above the noise. Her critics read it as someone who was just asked to show a diploma, calling the people who asked broken and insecure. Both readings came from the same caption posted at the same moment. The comment section split in real time and has not recovered since. The supporters feel is not manufactured. There's a genuine belief among a real audience that a successful Black woman built something from nothing. That the people questioning her credentials are motivated by something other than concern for the public, and that her refusal to engage is power rather than avoidance. That feeling has history behind it. That pattern is not imaginary. What the critics feel is also not manufactured. The concern is not purely about whether Bryant holds a specific degree. It is about whether someone presenting themselves as a psychological authority, working with clients on deeply personal and emotional issues, should be exempt from the oversight that governs every other licensed mental health provider in the country. When someone is at their lowest point and reaches out to a person whose name literally starts with doctor, they are making a decision based on a signal that carries professional weight. That signal has consequences for the person trusting it, not for the person using it. There is no record of an active license for Cheyenne Bryant as a psychologist or therapist in California or any other state. Her bio has been adjusted to read psychology, expert, life coach, and author. The title doctor remains everywhere else. The handle, the book cover, every public appearance. Her session rates have continued while this conversation plays out publicly. That is not a rumor. That is just what has been established across every interview she has given. And the fact that she keeps giving interviews without changing a single thing about that answer tells you everything about where this is actually heading.